Now autumn time is an absolutely fantastic time of the year to come and fish those rivers. Before it gets really cold, the fish are right up for it at the moment. I've been having some great sessions just lately on the River Great Ouse, catching big bags of roach on hemp and tares. And I wanted to bring the Nufish cameras to that river to have a little look at a slightly different approach. We're going to fish hemp and tares for roach because I'd be a fool not to. It's such great fishing, it's such a great bait, and the fishing's fantastic, lovely roach. But I've also got some worms and casters and ground bait with me to hopefully try and trick one or two big fish as well. So let's get on the box and I'll show you this amazing river. It's a beautiful stretch this is, and I can't wait to get going. Okay, so how we're going to approach this river. Now, I've got here this morning and there are fish topping everywhere. Now, it's got to be a good sign. There's got to be plenty of fish here. So, really interested to see how the fishing unfolds. I'm going to attack it. I've got to, I know. I want to come here and try and catch some better quality fish. Hopefully there'll be loads of roach to catch. But I do know there are some bream here. Whether we catch one of them, who knows? But we've got to give ourselves a chance. So, I'm going to kick off on the feeder. And I've mixed up a tiny bit of F1. Just a little bit of sweet fish meal ground bait, and I just feel like that just gives me an early chance to fish for an hour or so on the feeder with a little bit of that, through with like an open end feeder, a little bit of chopped worm, a few casters and a big dendrobina on the hook, and just give ourselves a chance of maybe picking up an early bream. When I used to fish these kind of venues all the time, so you used to start, innit? You'd put your bait in on the pole and then you'd maybe just chuck a feeder across and just see if you can catch a bream. So I'm literally just going to put in one feeder full. Then I'm going to feed my pole, and then I'm just going to start on the feeder and fish it for about an hour and just see what we catch. We might not catch anything, we might catch a bream, but that's the beauty of the fishing, isn't it? On the pole though, I'm going to fish two lines. I'm going to fish a 13-metre line, which is, I've plumbed up, there's like definitely a shelf on the near side, then it goes into like a deep trough in the river, and I'm just nicely into that at 13 metres into the deep water, and I'm going to attack that with ground bait. Now I've mixed up some Sonia Baits Deep Water, which is a really sticky ground bait. It binds so well, which means it'll carry lots of feed. Now I don't want to lose feed out there. My thinking is that if I start loose feeding out there in that deep water, I'm going to struggle. I'm going to draw in loads of bleak and fish that I don't necessarily want to catch out there. I want to catch quality fish if I can. So I want all my bait to be hard on the bottom, so I'm going to use the ground bait to do that, which is why I've gone for that deep water mix, which is lovely and sticky. So what I'm going to do, I want to put 6 balls in at the start. I'm not going to ball them in, I'm just going to cup them in. So I'm literally going to use my pot to sort of accurately measure out about 6 pots of ground bait, which obviously compensates for the air that I squeeze out of it. So 4, 5, 6. So that's 6. There's plenty left there to top up because I'm going to use my pot to top up and use the ground bait to top the swim up. And I'm going to put plenty of bait in this initial feed. So I'm going to put in, that's the 250ml pot, so I'm going to put that of hemp in. I'm going to put the same of casters in. I'm going to be aggressive because, like I say, I want to try and catch a better fish if I can. It's lovely catching roach and stuff, but I can do that on the short line. So I put a load of casters, a load of hemp in there, and I'm going to put a good dollop of worms in as well. And I'm not going to put tons of worms in though. This river is full of crayfish, and I'm worried that if I put too many worms in, I could attract a load of them, which we don't want. So I'm mainly going to put the casters in and the hemp in, and then let's just have a little feel and see how much bait that is. I'm just going to whiz it around. I like to do it in a separate bowl because if I was to put my casters in this bowl, by the time I come to use the ground bait towards the end of the session, those casters could float. So I prefer to work out of a smaller bowl and accurately measure how much bait I've put in. Just purely so I can feed it as it's fresh, if that makes sense. So I've just accurately put that through there, and I'm going to make up this into some lovely hard wet balls like that. You can see how wet and feed rich that is. Full of casters, full of hemp, and hopefully that'll hold the fish while I fish the feeder for that first hour. So we'll just mould them up. Lovely and wet that, it'll break down over a period of time and hopefully keep those fish on the bottom. Like I say, I don't want to lose feed out there at all. So we'll just put them together. Lovely ground bait this actually. It's very, very sticky, which is what you want. You want it to be able to carry plenty of feed on a river like this. It's a good depth out there. It's like a top 5 on my pole. So it's a good depth, so we want this to go straight to the bottom. You could even put a bit of soil to this if you wanted, some extra weight, but I think this will be fine. And there we go, there's 6 balls there that I'm going to pot in at the start. Let's say laced with feed, plenty in there, and then I'm going to top up as and when I go. So we'll pop them in. And then on the short line, it's considerably shallow on the short line. It seems to come up onto a bit of a shelf. I think that's going to be the perfect place to try and catch roach, maybe on hemp and tares. So what I'm going to do there, I'm literally going to pot in half a pot of hemp to start with, and then I'm going to put a few casters in as well. There's some big perch run through this bit of river, and I wouldn't mind catching a few of them, so I'm going to put a few casters in as well. I want to catch roach short, but if I slip a caster on and catch a perch every now and again, wouldn't be the end of the world neither. So that's my opening gambit. I'm going to kick off on the feeder, put these boards of ground bait in, and then hopefully we'll catch a load of fish while we're at it. Now I just wanted to say a quick thank you to Northampton Nene AC for letting us come and film here today on this beautiful stretch of the Great Ouse. It's a great fishing club, and if you are in the Northampton area, it's well worth checking out. Great value fishing, they've got tons of water, especially if you like rivers and canals. It's a great club, very, very good price ticket, so well worth checking out if you're in the Northampton area. Okay, so I'm going to feed the swim. Like I say, I want to try and fish the feeder for at least an hour just to give my pole line a chance to rest and settle down. So what I'm going to do, I've put on a large smooth hound, and I'm just going to put one in. It's like 3/4 of the way across, and I'm just going to put in a blob of worm, a few casters, and I'm just going to sandwich that old school in the middle of the feeder, just like that, and just give it a nice gentle squeeze. And I just feel like that's enough while I feed the pole just to kick it off and maybe draw a fish in. So let's just get that over there. Nice far bank marker. It's deep here, so it's a bit of a gentle lob. Like that, feel that down to the bottom. I reckon it's sort of 12 foot maybe. Let's just hit the bottom there. And I'm not in any rush to strike it out or anything like that. I'm only putting one in, so I want it to go where I've cast it. I don't want it to spread it out all over the river. I want it to be compact and there. So I'm just going to give it a second. That F1 breaks down really quick anyway. And then what I'm going to do, now it's had a few seconds, I'm just going to shake it on the spot like that, just to sort of encourage that bait out. I'm not going to strike it out, I'm just shaking it, and I can feel it's empty. So that's worked a treat. And then we can get on with feeding that pole line. So we'll put that down, and then I'm going to start on that and give it, like I say, about an hour, because sometimes on these natural venues your best chance of a bonus fish is the first or second chuck. So I'm a big believer in that. So I'll just put that to one side, and then I've got my balls that are made up, nice and sticky. I'm going to pot them in. So what I like to do, because it's top 5 deep on my pole here, last thing you want to be doing is putting that amount of pole on when you've got heavy balls of ground bait in, because that'll just lead to you putting your hand through your section, and we don't want to do that. So try and get it as far back as you can. And today I can get that right back. So they're just in there, nice big proper balls of ground bait, and we want to be as accurate as possible with these, because like I say, we're not going to lose feed out there. We're all about the accurate fishing on the bottom today. I've got a far bank marker, and I'm just going to pot them in about, I don't know, 2 foot downstream of straight in front of me, if that makes sense. There's a tree that is bang on in front of me, and then there's one that's like, it looks about 1 metre down, but it's probably further than that, and that's where I'm going to pop my bait. Now there's not a lot of flow, and I've just got to imagine that just gives me a chance to get that float running in exactly the right place. It's worth taking your time when you're fishing in this manner and you're trying to accurately feed and fish on the bottom. We're trying to create a nice concentrated area. I'm just going to put all them in, nice and accurate. You may be wondering why I don't just ball them in, and you could do, and it would attract a load of fish. But again, I'm really conscious that ever since I've been sat here this morning getting ready, there's been a million, and I mean a million, little tiny fish top in, bleak and little dace and stuff, which I don't want to attract a mass of them. The problem is when you're pleasure fishing, sometimes you can attract millions of them, and they can be a nightmare. So that's the last thing we want. So just potting them in nice and quiet and letting it settle will hopefully keep those to a minimum. 6 balls. I'd like to put a load of worm in, but I'm really conscious of those crayfish. I fish this river a lot, throughout the summer with boilies and stuff for specimens, and crayfish can be a real issue. So I'll put a bit of worm in, a suggestion if you like, but not loads. Take your time. You may be thinking, oh, I don't like the look of that on your pole, but poles are plenty strong enough to do this. It's not a problem. As long as you just be nice and steady. And that last one, I've made them rock hard, them balls. So they're going to go straight to the bottom, and probably take a little while to break down, but that's kind of what I'm looking to achieve. Nice and accurate. Lovely day today, bright sun. The otter's just been past, which is always very nice to see, but they're about, aren't they? So, right, the short line is, like I say, I think that's where I'm going to catch quite a lot of roach actually. So I'm going to put in a decent amount of hemp at the start, and I'm just going to top it off with a few casters as well. Now I'm thinking that we could catch mainly roach there, but if I put a few casters in as well, and if there's any perch sort of patrolling that inside shelf, then we've got a chance of them as well, which obviously big perch won't go amiss. Again, be accurate. Because I'm going to loose feed this spot, I'm not as conscious about accuracy, but I'm just going to put it in about there and just put in a bit of a line of bait. I'm just going to loose feed some hemp just to get a feel for the distance. A bit short. Nice. So that's the swims fed. Bit of a palaver getting all that bait in, but it's worth taking your time. I can't wait to get going on that feeder and hopefully catch a nice big bream or a perch or something just to kick our session off, because I think we're going to have a great day here on the Ouse. Now I hope you're enjoying the video. Now if you would do me a massive favour, please press that like button, subscribe to the Nufish YouTube channel, and if you do us an even bigger favour, drop us a comment in down below where you would like to see us fish next and do a nice bit of filming. So let's get back to the video and hopefully we catch a load more fish. Right, so that's the pole lines fed. Obviously I put that one feeder full in, and I'm going to start off with pretty much a full dendron and a red maggot. Let's go see if we can't get an indication of something good. Like I say, it could be a perch, it could be a bream, could be a roach, who knows? Literally don't know. So we might as well fish positive and give ourselves a chance. So let's just put that over there. Now feel it down to the bottom. There's not loads of flow on the river today. In fact, there's barely any. But I still probably can get a bit of a bow. So I'm just facing ever so slightly downstream and just letting that bit of flow that there is just take up most of the slack. Put up a bit of a bend. I can get a little bit of a bend in my tip, 2 ounce tip, sorry, 1.5 ounce tip in there. So I can get a little bit of a bend. And let's just see if we don't get a bite. I don't know if there's going to be some perch here, there could be some roach here. There's plenty of roach topping, so I think we're going to be all right to catch a few of them, especially on the pole. But it'd be nice, wouldn't it, just to have a start with a proper hook bait on and just see. Because like I say, when I used to fish mainly natural venues in my youth, you'd always start off early doors looking for a bonus fish or two. So we'll see if that pays off. Be amazed if we don't get an indication of some description. What I am quite happy with though is the fact that I haven't just gone in and just got rattled to death off little fish, which I thought might happen. Let's just see. I've got my rod. To be fair, there's that little flow. You could probably put your rod down and fish it more canal or a lake, I suppose, but there is a little bit of flow, and I just think it's just a bit nicer. Just have it. I've not got it right up in the air. Little indication there. I've not got it right up in the air because there's no need, but just up off the surface, a couple of metres, and it's just a nice angle. That is a little bite there. Oh, I might have missed it. Oh, I don't know. I've got something, I think. Little perch or something. Oh, roach. On a pretty much a full dendra, little roach. I mean, he's not that little, to be fair. A couple of ounces. Oh, I've missed the neck. Would you believe it? Oh. Anyway, not a bream, but not a tiny fish neither. Just maybe they have to put a bigger bait on still, and put a worm and a caster on this time. There is obviously some roach here because, like I say, ever since I've been sat here getting set up, they've just been topping non-stop, which is a lovely sign, isn't it? You know, this time of year is lovely roach sort of conditions. There's sort of that lovely sort of autumnal air now in the mornings, fresh mornings. Just screams roach fishing. I reckon we could have a load on this short pole later. We're loose feeding this hemp. I'm not in any rush to tighten up or anything. That even though there is only, like I say, a tiny bit of flow, there is some flow. And obviously it will just take up that little bit of slack and gives a nice setup. Hopefully we have a little pull there. Could just be stacked with roach over there. Maybe if I wanted to sit and wait for a fish like a bream or something, you might have to fish something like corn or 2 worms or something. Great sign though, the fact we're getting so many indications straight away, even on big baits. I'm loose feeding that line on the pole as well. Some beautiful hemp. Really impressed with that. That was a good bite. It's not a big fish, but it was a good bite. What we got? Another roach. Ah, oh, that's 2 roach. None of them have gone in the net yet. That worm is just absolutely mullered. I think we're going to need a bigger bait to get through these beauties. It's that time of year when roach just love worms. I've seen it in a lot of places at Tamar and stuff like that. They just love worms at this time of year, roach, for whatever reason. Been a bit more aggressive with the old bait now because I might as well. Because then roach will definitely be eating it. I put a worm on, but I broke it into 2 halves, so it's a bit of a bigger mouthful. I am clipped up, just out of interest. If it was more pace, sometimes you can't fish clipped up on a river, but it's quite nice too when you're fishing like this in a steadier section. You can take advantage of the line clip. Tighten up to that. Let's see if we can get one in the keep net this time, eh? It's looking good for the old pole. For getting this many roach on the feeder. Lovely neck. That was a bite, wasn't it? Pull the rod in. Got nothing fancy on kit wise. I've just got 6 pound detection on. Hey, what's this? Cool. Look at them. Clonking roach. Look at that. No wonder he pulled the rod. This is a lightning fast start though. There's so many fish here. Can't believe it. I'm just thinking, like, I probably should have brought some corn or something just to be, maybe try and be a bit more selective perhaps, I don't know. You know, I don't like corn, but Sometimes it's the only way. Maybe I'd just catch bigger roach with a corn, who knows. Hopefully you can see that rig though. We've had three bites and 2 roach came off by my net, but we've hit them. That little rig just works. It looks to me like there's a million roach here. Sometimes the worst thing you can do is go straight on your bait. Like, I don't doubt for a minute that long pole especially, there'll be loads of roach there. But sometimes early in the session when you've got loads of bait in your peg, like we have, them roach can just be flying everywhere and you can like miss loads of bites and there can just be a bit of chaos going on down there. So actually just leaving them, when I used to do a lot of bloodworm and joker fishing, actually just leaving them for a little bit to calm down, thin the bait out a little bit, is often the best way to catch them. So I'm never, when I put a load of bait in like that, I'm never in a massive rush to go on it. If I can just let it attract some fish and then let them thin it out a little bit, it can actually pay off. Okay, so the rigs I've prepared, I've set 3 up and that feeder rod. Now, the long line, I've set up 2 bulk floats, both a gram. I've got one with a bigger hook on and then one with a smaller hook on, just so I can put maggots on one and then bigger baits like worms and stuff. Now, both of them have got 6 to 8 zip, and it's actually just through one piece of my pole. I find that really good, whether I'm swinging roach in or dealing with bigger fish. I find like that one section gives me plenty of stretch, there's loads of stretch in it, but it just gives me the chance to boss the fish a little bit. Now that's, both of them are set on 014, and both of them have got a bulk, number 8s. I've just got a few trimmers above there. I use stots just to fine tune the bristle. And then I've just got 3 number 9s below it. And then down at the bottom, on this one, the Hemp one, I've got 08 exact and a size 18, Tubertini Series 18. And then on the one for out long, I've got 012 down to a 14. So much bigger hook, much more serious tackle. The other rig that's a little bit different is more of a, I'd say a traditional Hemp rig. Much more strung out, much more hairy-fairy if you like. Nice slow presentation. If the fishing's tricky, we can do it with that. Again, one section of elastic, but we've got the 4 to 6 zip this time, the pink. Just one section, again, soft enough on the strike, but allows me to swing the fish. This time though, I've got light at main line. I've got 012 exact, and then I've got 4x16 Cypri, but this is depth dependent. If it was a shallower bit of river, I'd use a 414. If it was shallower still, I'd use a 412. It's just depth dependent really. That's set, just touching the bottom. And then down here, I've got a big long string of shot. And then my intention is to sort of just trap it and let the shots come in. So I've just got a number 8, a number 8, a number 8. These are all 3 inches apart. Another number 8, another number 8, another number 8. And then down here, I've switched to number 10s to get a slower fall of the hook bait. So I've got all them number 8s at the top, and then I've got 5 number 10s. And like I say, on some days, they'll have it bulked down, but other days you need to be a bit more delicate with your presentation. And then again, down at the bottom, I've got 08 exact to a size 18 N10 hook. So they're my 2 sort of pole setups. I've got 2 of those bulk setups, and then I've got my Cypri there for like strung out. And then on the feeder, I've just gone for an 11-foot feeder rod, 6 pound detection straight through. Well, straight through to the end, no shock lead or anything like that, no need for that. I've just got like a medium smooth hand feeder on, and then the rig is just a stop at the bottom with a knot behind it, and then one about 1.5 inches, 2 inches above that. And my theory is that when I feed out a bow, I'll get a nice little bolt effect there, and hopefully the fish will hook themselves. And then I've just got a little sort of bit of detection there, and I've just attached an 014 8 hook length there, and a size 14 Tubertini Series 18. So nice soft stuff, but again, aiming for those better quality fish. So let's get going. We've had an hour now on the feeder, and it is a roach, or an indication of a roach, pretty much every chuck-in so far. And I've got to be honest, I'm absolutely gagging to get on the pole because it just looks and screams roach. I mean, they're not bad fish, but they're not feeder fish them, so I'm gonna chalk that up as experience. It was worth trying, but I think the pole's gonna be fantastic. So without further ado, I think we should put that down. I'm not saying if you didn't sit on this all day, you probably would catch something proper over there, but it just, everything about it is screaming roach today. There's millions of them topping. There's a bite every chucking on the feeder. So I think we're gonna just have to get our heads down and get on the old red fins. So let's get on it, because I think we could have a good day. I'm gonna start on the old long pole to start with. Get rid of that. And I'm gonna go with this rig. Again, I'm gonna put worm on because I feel like it's not a big full worm, but like an inch piece, and just see what's about down there. Could be, again, I've just got a feeling it's going to be an absolute roach bonanza today, to be honest with you, but let's just work that out. And what I'm going to do, I'm actually going to sit on the pole and just sort of ease it through a bit. There's not, like I said when I was feeder fishing, there's not tons of flow, but there is a bit of push, and if I'm... Look at that, look. Indication straight away. Yeah, I'm not surprised, because honestly there are so many roach here. It's incredible. Look at that, floats bobbing around like you wouldn't believe. Kind of wish I'd bought some corn and stuff. Look at that, my floats. It's just not even getting to the bottom there. Held up a bit there. Roach. A little bleak. So start though on the pole. I'm just going to put a smaller bit of worm on, just more like a worm's head for now. I'm just trying to find me, trying to suss it out at the minute. There's always a way. We don't want bleak though. Bleak are not what we're after. Don't mind catching those nice roach, but I don't want no bleak. Got to the bottom this time. Of course, if we do get absolutely mullered with tiny fish, we've got the option of setting up a bar and fishing a bit more static with a much bigger bait on, put a big hook on and fish that way. I do think there's something to be had here though. If I can just get through these blooming bleak. Always a challenge. I'm going to try and sneak my bait in a little bit. Might have to just put my bulk and everything a bit closer to my hook, just to bomb it through them. Be a way, but look, they're just holding me up all the time. Look at that. Pests, aren't they? That's why a lot of people fish hemp and tares and stuff, because you do often get through the old bleak. They don't seem to like them baits. Oh. What am I doing? I'm just going to tighten that all up a bit. I'm going to all spread out a bit at the minute. I'm just going to tighten it up. Maybe I have to put a shorter hook length on as well. That's a trick we used to do quite a lot. Maybe underestimated how many little fish are about, actually. There's always a way, though. I mean, I had one on shipping out. Bleak eos, small eos. Things. Well, we've got to the bottom, so that's a start. So just moving that olivette down and be a bit more positive. Got us down to the crayfish. Well, look at that. Just dropped in on that short line and I've just had 3 clonking great roach like that. Now, I'm not going to lie, the long line has been a little bit frustrating. It's a bleak or a tiny little fish holding me up all the time. When I do get to the bottom, I don't really catch anything. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to re-attack that. I'm going to put a lot more worms in because actually I fished it for a good half an hour and never had any crayfish problems. So I'm going to put a hit of worms in and I'm just going to put a big hook on out there and fish it much more positive for a big fish because this hemp line is fantastic on the short pole. So we're going to catch loads of roach there anyway, or it looks like we are. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to chop up some more worms, a nice fresh chop, put a few more balls of ground bait in out there, loaded with worms, and just see if that instigates a nice response from a few better fish. Okay, so this is my next attack, shall we say, on the long pole. I've just chopped up a nice fresh chop, pound full of worms, and I've loaded 2 balls up with casters and them chopped worms. So my plan is that I'll pop them in and just leave them alone for it and get on with this hemp fishing because it looks like it's going to be fantastic. So I'd rather just attack that line now out long because I don't really want to be faffing around for roach and stuff out there. There's plenty of them short, so we might as well catch them there. So let's get them balls in and see if we can't make the most of this roach fishing because it's fantastic. That long pole was hard work, I've got to be honest. So I put them worms in and then I'm just settling in on the hemp, and I've got to be honest, this is fantastic fishing. Obviously we put that pot full of hemp in at the start with a few casters, and now I'm loose feeding over the top and I'm doing it quite positive and the fishing is incredible. Just using a tare on the hook at the moment. I've tried hemp, but to be honest, tares is fantastic today, and they're a real nice stamp roach as well, real nice fish. Now what seems to happen is there's not tons of flow on the river today. I reckon if there was flow here today, oh my God, it would be like 30 pound a roach sort of territory. But what seems to happen is, well, that's a good one. What seems to happen, I have to get the old net out for this one. Yep. Is the bites come as you sort of the float's sort of shotting up, if you like, or an occasional lift, quite quick bites. Whereas once the float's settled, they're not as common. So I think that's just a lack of flow, to be honest with you. But I mean, look at them, absolute corkers. I mean, that's one of the better ones I've had, to be fair. But they are about, and it's such good fishing. Now, I love fishing with hemp with like lightly shotted rigs, but it's deep here and there's a lot of fish. So I'm actually using a bulk and 3 droppers. Got a gram bulk float on, and I'm fishing much more positive than I normally would with hemp. Normally when I'm fishing shallower swims and rivers like with a bit more pace, I like to fish lightly shotted floats and run it at the fish. But here there's no flow and it's just all about bombing it down really. And so we've got that gram on and it's perfect. You see I'm putting a decent amount of hemp in every go as well. I've got 3 pints of hemp with me and I'm really glad I have, because I'm going to get through it if this fishing carries on like this. It's incredible. And basically I'm just laying it out downstream, letting it come under my pole, and then 9 times out of 10 the bites come within a few seconds of that rig going down. I'm fishing about 1 inch off bottom at the moment, and then if I don't get a bite I just tend to just lift my float, probably a float's length out, and just sort of lay it back in, just something a bit like that. I must admit that's easier to do and get right when there's a bit more flow on the river, but it just sort of puts that tare back into their eyesight, because I think there's a lot going on down there and I think they just miss it. Whoa, what's that one? Yeah, I think they just don't see it, to be honest with you. So you're just lifting the float up and it just helps the tare catch their eye again. In my head anyway, that's my theory behind it. But it's the one good thing about the old lack of flow is that the fish are right under the feed and I can fish nice and accurate. Obviously when there's more flow on the river you've got to kind of work out where to feed to catch them best. Whereas with this, they're all seemingly down the same sort of spot. Look at that, just brilliant fishing. Interestingly, look at that. It's like a clonking roach. Interestingly, you'll see how easy it was to swing that fish in. And that's a lot to do with my elastic setup actually. I've got our 6 to 8 zip, which is a lovely soft elastic, but I've just got it through one piece of pole, the very top section of my pole. And when it's deep like this, that's a brilliant elastic, especially because I've got a size 16 hook on. I'm not messing about with little hooks or anything. And it just allows you, it almost like plucks the roach out of the water. Before they get any sort of head of steam up, you just plucks them out of the water and it allows you to swing fish really comfortably. There's no like stretching or anything like that. Makes you incredibly quick and efficient. Sets the hook really nicely. Just a lovely way to do it. Sometimes when you've got the same elastic through a full top kit, you can't quite swing the fish because there's just a bit too much stretch. Whereas with this, sets the hook, it comes out 18 inches or so and then just comfortably sort of plucks the roach out. Oh, there's a pike right behind me roach there. I didn't think it'd be too long before we seen one of them actually. But there was definitely a swirl at the back of the old roach there. Could even be a perch because there are some big perch through this bit. Wouldn't mind seeing one of them, but I've not, even when I was fishing worms on the feeder or long pole, I've not actually caught a perch today. Obviously you're not going to catch them doing this, but maybe now I've put more worms in on that long pole with those 2 balls that I just cooked in, maybe a few perch might settle out there. I'm just leaving that alone now because this is so good. I can just get my head down, have a really nice bit of fishing here, and just leave that long pole alone, and then I'm going to go back out there in a little while. Just give it another 5 minutes. So I always find with big fish, like you often catch them within a few minutes of trying the line, like they're there and you catch them pretty quickly. I've found it can be foolish sometimes on natural venues to just sit and sit and sit when you could be doing other things. Normally like a 5-minute look on a line is enough to tell you whether it's worth sticking at it. So I will pop out there in a little while, but for now I'm just enjoying this. I've set up 2 rigs for this as well. I've set up this gram float, like I say, it's one of our bulk floats. Just a bulk of shot and then 3 number 9 droppers. 08 hook length, size 16, which is Tubatini Series 18 actually, which is it's a nice hook for these nice big tares actually. It works well. Look at them, I mean they're great stamp fish. Just lovely fish. See how easy it was to swing that in. And my other ones are much more, I'm going to say traditional hemp rig, strung out shot, and that's a 4x16 Cypri. Now I started on that and it was good, I was getting loads of fish, but it quickly became apparent that I could be much more quick and efficient with this 1 gram rig, and it's working a treat. And I'm putting like a good 1/3 of a pouch of hemp in at a time, and it just, there must be loads of fish down there because the fishing's incredible. And it just shows you, doesn't it, like sometimes these rivers and stuff, they're just a bit like untapped potential. You know, I'm not claiming to be the first person to fish along here ever, because I'm not, but There's certainly no swims cut out or anything, so I can't imagine there's loads of people come down here pole fishing. I mean, how good's this? The thing I've noticed is tares is a really good hook bait today. Maybe it's the stamper fish that we're catching. There doesn't really seem to be any benefit to faffing around with hemp today, because sometimes obviously hemp is just much better than tares, but today it doesn't seem to be the case. Like tares is getting me a bite quick and a good stamper fish, so they're easy to use, so I'll stick with it. It's always the same. The float goes down. I've got a little bit of black on my bristle. It gets to that, and you get a little indication and wallop. Look at these. Probably the fact that I'm swinging them in so easy probably undermines a little bit how like good stamp they are. They're like proper chunky roach they are. You have proper weight of them if you just keep catching them like this. It's incredible. Prep wise for the tares, I just did them I gave them a bit of a soak in water for sort of 24 hours, and then I just put them in a flask overnight. I put a little iron tablet in there to darken them off. Put them in a flask, boiling water, left them overnight, and they're absolutely perfect this morning. Nick the hook through them, no problem, but they're not an absolute mush. Like sometimes I've found when I've tried to simmer them, they go like a mushy horrible, whereas these are nice and firm, stay on the hook well. And sometimes I'm catching 2 or 3 roach on the same tare, which is nice. I've got that wide gape series 18 on, and it kind of pushes the tare out of the way a little bit and keeps it on the hook when when you catch a roach. Just no indication there. So a little lift and drop. I've not put a caster on or anything like that. I did put them casters in at the start, but to be honest with the amount of bleak and tiny fish about, I just think it's just not going to be the answer. Oh, that was a bite, missed that. It doesn't seem like that's the answer today, to be honest with you. I think the best bet is a piece of worm on that long line. Be interesting to come back though and fish it in a different style. I think if you came and bait dropper lobbies in and casters and stuff, you might have more of a chance of catching something big, but we haven't been out on that long line for a while, so I'm excited to see if we get some bites out there when we go back. Look at that. Every time. Just doesn't go under as quick. I mean, look at that. It's just quality roach. I've been doing quite a bit of this fishing on this river recently in different areas, but the stamp hasn't been as good as this. This is incredible. Right, I'm just going to show you that other rig, because I think you'll find it interesting. So it's a much more delicate shotting. It's a 4x16 Cypri, and then I've just got a string of shots starting from probably halfway down the rig, and they're number 8s, and then it comes down to number 10s. Much more, I'd say, traditional hemp rig, and it just, some days this is a better way. And actually on the other sessions I've been having recently on this river, it's been a great float. I'm just going to put this section on, a bit more reach. Yeah, it's been a really good rig, this has, over the last few weeks when I've been coming pleasure fishing. And it'll catch me fish today, but obviously there's a lot of fish about, so you can get away with being a bit more positive. But when hemp fishing's a bit more tricky, a rig like this with strung out shots, and it's all relative as well. Like if it was a shallow canal, you could use like a little 4x10 or even a lighter float than that, all strung out 12s and things like that. But here, obviously a 4x16 is quite a light float for this depth of water still, but just gives you that different presentation. And it's that sometimes you just have more than one way to skin a cat, isn't there? And sometimes this rig is fantastic. So I'm just laying it out, and then I'm like hanging on to the float. And that just slows that hook bait down. As I'm clinging onto it, it just holds it and holds it and holds it, and eventually it comes down where the shot's below the float, and I can just let it go and it runs. And like I say, over the top for today, in hindsight, because the fishing's good. But well worth having in your armour if you do want to try hemp and tares, because it can be a difference maker, especially on those harder days, which this isn't. Just a little bite there. You see the difference. Because I think I'm feeding quite heavy, I've got the fish quite low down. So obviously getting the rig to the bottom is more important than fishing through the water because of how I'm feeding it. Feeding it heavily and it's pulling those better roach down. I'm not exaggerating when I say this, but there are fish topping all over the river. There must be loads here, it's incredible. Great to see. Obviously we've had a dry, warm summer, and I do think that is quite good for roach. I think that I've noticed it on a few venues where roach have really good summers because a bit of a smaller fish actually. I'm going to put that rig back down. I just wanted to show you it quick. But roach seem to do well with hot summers actually. Something I've noticed over the years. Don't know why that is, whether it's successful spawning, but obviously that was a good fish. Somebody just rolled down the middle of the river. I don't know what that was. That's a proper fish. Yeah, I always remember when I used to fish the New Junction Canal a lot when I was younger. And if it was ever a hot, dry summer, the following year was always good. I don't know whether that's just a coincidence or what, but I think there's just probably get to have a couple of successful spawns. Yeah, that heavy rig is definitely the one today. Definitely a proper fish that, because it's gone down and there was like a few bubbles coming up. Interesting. Yeah, just this rig just gets it down to the business killing zone so much quicker. And if you have got a couple of top kits, it is well worth setting up, you know, a couple of different rigs. One with a bulk down and bulk and droppers, and then one with that delicate. A good fish. I'm itching, I've got to be honest, to get on that long pole. As good as this is, and it is good, with that, just seeing that fish roll, I'm just gonna chance my arm for 5 minutes and just see if we can't hook something out there. But I mean, look at this fishing. Just autumn roach fishing at its best. Just incredible. Look at that. Never seen a hook, I don't think, that fish. But yeah, I'm just gonna nip out and I'm literally gonna set my timer on my phone for 5 minutes. I'm not gonna give it any longer than that. It's like I say, I've found over the years that that's long enough to see if there's a proper fish there or not. So let's get on there, let's give it a go. Right, let's get out there on that long line. Like I say, I am genuinely gonna be quite disciplined here and just give it a few minutes, 5 minutes to be exact. And like I say, I just found over the years that that's long enough to give me a feel whether there's something there that's worth sitting and waiting for. Like if there's some perch about, you tend to know about it pretty quick. And so, especially when the roach fishing is that good, because it is, the fishing is phenomenal. So I'll give it, make a note of what time it is and give it 5 minutes. And sometimes that is, like I say, just long enough just to find out whether there's a proper fish there or not. But that, I mean, that hemp fishing is just incredible. The average stamp is like just amazing. There we go. That was a bite anyway, on the bottom. Don't think it's a bleak, just a roach on a full worm. Roach love worms at this time of year. I think they'd probably do it all year round, but it really is noticeable at this time of year that the old roach come to the fore with worms. But normally on like a worm's head or something, not a full worm. But they do like them. And they're not necessarily a traditional bait for roach, but they are a good one. At least that wasn't a bleak. Don't mind catching roach, it's the bleak that I don't want. I just genuinely think there's a lot of mouths out there. So there's, you know, a lot of that initial bait could be long gone. So we're just obviously just refreshing it by putting them balls of ground bait in with. I haven't like put minced worm in neither. I've put decent pieces of worm in. Just gives me a chance. Another bite there. It didn't feel like a tiny fish. It was probably a roach again, but it's it wasn't a bream, that's for sure. Or a perch. I'm amazed I haven't caught a perch yet. I thought there'd be full of little perch here today. I think there's just that many blooming roach about. So not a bad thing as long as you have the right rigs on and you catch them with the right kit. Right, we're in. I've put a bit more depth on. I've put a bigger hook on, put 14 on. And I'm about a foot over depth now, so I can hold it still and just kind of wait. But I think it is important, I keep mentioning it. I do think that it's so easy when you set up with a bar like I have today and you just sat with the pole between your legs and you can just watch the world go by a little bit because it's hands-free fishing. Sometimes you get tempted to just sit and sit and sit, and I'm not saying you won't catch something eventually, but I've always found, like I said, that initial rig going in, the worm coming in, the new worm coming in, that's when you get your bite. So don't just sit there. Sometimes like lift it up and drop it back in and all that business. Keeping that hemp swim ticking over nicely. Oh, indication. So never in a rush to strike because it's a perch or something. It's good to give them a bit of time. There we go. There we go. That's something a bit proper. Feels perchy. So we're patient on that bite then. Oh yeah, old Sergeant coming up. Just shows you, doesn't it? Putting them worms in. Big hook, big bait. That's a good fish, that is. Not a monster by whose standards, but a lovely fish. Autumn fishing at its best, this is, I'm saying. Look at that. Probably getting on for a pound, I would imagine. Look at that beauty. Absolute corker, that. Well happy with that, because obviously we've made the decision to be a bit more aggressive and a bit more a bit more aggressive with our bait and a bit more patient. And again, that proves my point a little bit about that 5-minute theory. Like, it was worth just having a 5-minute look, and then we've added a good fish into the net. And I dare say, probably not going to be the last. So exciting hooking them on the river. It's great fishing. Right, I remember what I put on the hook there. I think I put pretty much a full worm on and just nip the tail off. Just like that. So there's a bit of juice coming out, but it's a nice big visible hook bait that those perch and bigger fish can find. Now you may have noticed that unlike fishing for carp on commercials and what have you, I kept the pole high. And that is so important when you're fishing natural style venues for big fish. It's important to boss the fish and actually try and get them off the bottom. Like, there's not tons of weed here actually. There is a bit on the inside, but there's not tons out there. But you just never know what's down there. And as you saw, that perch was digging in, trying to get in the riverbed. And you just got to try and get them up. If you just let them, keep your pole low like you would on a commercial and let them run around, there's every chance you could lose it to a snag. And when you might only hook one in a day, that's the last thing you want to do. So looks a bit odd when you've got the pole up in the air, but trust me, it does pay off. Used to fish for chub and stuff on the new junction with light elastics. As soon as you hooked them on a 5 elastic or a 6 elastic, you'd put your pole up and actually bottom the elastic out and actually play them on the action of the pole. And you landed so many more doing that than fanning around with them essentially. So just something to bear in mind. Obviously, it doesn't always work, but big fish on natural venues like this, when you just don't know them and there's a tree to my left, there's reeds down here, who knows what's out there, well worth doing. I'm well happy with that because we made that tactical change to be a bit more positive out there, and it's worked. Those worms have brought a lovely stripey to the party. And they don't tend to swim around on their own, them fish. Weird little slow pull here. Float's gone right down to a little dot. Just gonna leave it. This could be a crayfish though. I reckon that's, oh no, it's kicking. I thought that was gonna be a cray then. That looks suspiciously like an eel, that does to me. I'm not too sure. It was a very, very slow bite. Oh, hello. A pike stuck that or something, but something's going on. I don't know what this is. I'm going to give up guessing. It's got to be an eel, hasn't it? Oh, it's a big fish, whatever it is. It just shows you that. Just changing the feeding ever so slightly by being more positive and putting them worms in. Oh, has brought some fish in, lost it. That felt very odd then. Don't know what that was. Oh, never mind. I'm going to top that swim up actually. That was a good fish that. Didn't feel like a perch neither. Maybe that was a... I mean, there are some big ones along here. So you never know, it could have been one of them. I'm just going to top that up. Because I feel like now's the time to do that. So I'm just going to like, not too fine again. Like I say, I'm fishing for quality, not quantity out there. I'm just going to put a good amount of casters in. Just a little bit of hemp just to keep it down. And I'm just going to... It's where your sticky ground bait really comes in, because you can make a really food-rich ball. And that's just... I'm going to put 2 in, again, like I did last time. Just put a few more casters in. Touch more water. I'm just going to pot them in because they clearly responded to that bait. Just that disturbance there. It's interesting actually, because obviously we've started getting signs on that long one. Just shortly before we'd seen that fish roll. And like I say, I didn't see what that fish was, but it was a good fish because it started bubbling after. So it could be anything, but I'm just going to pop them 2 more. Absolutely loaded with feed. I'm just going to pop them in. I'll try that hemp again. And then, you never know, we might have a massive finish on this, because I've got a feeling it's there's some big fish out there, because I don't... Whatever that was, it was a good fish. Kind of felt like an eel, and then it felt like a pike or something had took it, but I don't know whether that's a cop-out or not. It might be a bit of a cop-out, that. It might just have been a quality fish. Nice and accurate. And I do apologise if I've got any jam on my face, because my old mate Barney's just dropped in some donuts and I'm just enjoying that. Well, one advantage of the gentleman's rest with the pole is I can sit and hand-free fish. Right, let's catch a couple more roach. And then we'll get back on that, because I'm a bit annoyed that came off, but at least there's some signs there now. And we've always got this amazing roach fishing to keep us entertained. Let's just drop on there. Obviously I kept feeding it, even when I was fishing that long line, I've kept feeding it. And I'll just give that, them 2 balls, just another, I don't know, 10 minutes or so just to settle, catch some more roach, and then we'll go back on it. So obviously the match angler would probably just sit on this, but because we are here just trying to have a great day on the river, look at them big fishes, it enough exciting. Especially when you hook something like that doesn't, no idea what it was. I couldn't even get it off the bottom, to be perfectly truthful. Couple of missed bites. It's funny, when you've not been fishing a swim for a little bit, your feeding pattern changes, and as best as you can keep feeding it, like when we're out there, it isn't the same as when you're fishing it. So it just sometimes just takes you a few minutes just to get the pattern going again. Tommy Pickering used to tell us that when he was a young Barnsley Black. He used to say you never feed a swim as well as when you're actually fishing it, and he's dead right. But it'll take us long to get back in on the action. Because in hindsight, actually, now I'm fishing it, you're feeding it a lot more when you're fishing it than you are when you're out there on the long pole. You sort of feel like you're doing it regular, but it's not the same as when you're actually fishing this. Indication there. No, I mean that. If you fished this for couple of hours, you'd catch 20 pounds because they're such good stamp fish. No monsters, but it's just, the average is incredible. Again, it's just so obvious today that it must be the last sort of foot of your rig falling in is when they spot that tear, and you get your bites like then, the indication straight away. And when you get your bite, it's like when it's, as soon as it's on the bottom, not that I am fishing just off bottom, but once it's down, it's kind of dead. And I mentioned this on loads of my videos, like hard pellet fishing and stuff. It's all the same theories, and I'm sure the fish see it coming down. Cool, quick bite. Hey up. What was that? That was large, wasn't it? Now, I don't know if it's time of day or what, but a massive fish had just rolled above me. Just on the inside, just the overhanging tree above me, and it just boshed out. And obviously I've seen that fish fizzing. Might be a time of day thing. The river's settled down now and the better fish have settled. It's taking everything in my power not to just sit on that long line now. Because I just want to see what's out there. I think that's how we're going to finish the session, and patiently fish out there and hope for a big fish or two to really top this video off, because I mean the roach fishing is incredible. Incredible. Right, I'm going to crack on putting these roach together, and then the next time you see me I will be out on that long pole because I'm itching, to be honest with you. Okay, so we've just had sort of 10 minutes or so, and I'm reluctant to just sit there and not catch anything, especially when that roach fishing is as good as it is. So I've I'm also a little bit reluctant to put any more ground bait in. I feel like I put quite a bit of ground bait in now. So I've actually got one of our little sort of bait droppers, and I've just put some worms and casters in it, and I'm just literally just putting it in almost to sort of liven the swim up again, because it just feels like it could do with something. Because as much bait as I've put in, obviously with that ground bait, it doesn't last that long, especially when you've got a million bleak and dace and roach and God knows what else down there. And sometimes a bit of fresh bait can do it the world of good. So that's exactly what I'm going to do. I'm just going to, using that bait dropper, accurately put a fresh bit of bait in. And I'm just letting it sort of swing under my pole, because you've got to be accurate with this. And just hold it there, let it come right under my pole, and I'm just going to lower it down there. Far bank marker, I'm just lining up with that. I'm just going to drop that bit of worm in there. You can see, floats a good foot over depth, which is perfect. Now, I'm a big believer when you bait dropping bait, is to just lift it and just a little bit. See, a lot of anglers emptying the bait droppers by lifting it up really high. Don't like doing that. I like to do it as low to the bottom of the river as I can. I just lift it up slowly, just to check it's emptied. Yeah, perfect. So that should be nicely topped up. We'll have another little blast on these roach for the time being, and then we are going to actually finish the session on that long line over that bait droppered worms. Right, we've had some amazing hemp fishing, but I'm done now. It's time to hopefully go out swinging, and hopefully the time is now to catch us one last quality fish and put that bait dropper of worms in, so the swim is primed. So hopefully we can just have a nice finish to the session. It's bugging me a little bit that I went a bit gung-ho when I lost that fish and put them 2 balls in. I wonder if I'd have just eked it out a little bit more, whether I'd have had another bite or 2 before topping up, but we'll never know. I was thinking big, so maybe I just overdid it, but hopefully that little bait dropper, that medium-sized one, with a nice little fresh bit of worm, a few casters, has hopefully brought another fish or 2 in. It's never felt like there's loads of fish out there, but while we've been fishing, you know, hemp and stuff, there has been activity out there, odd little bubble. I've even seen an odd fish top. Whoa, that was a bad bite. Not the intended species, but it was a good bite. Yeah, so there has been activity out there. Roach. And I feel like it's, you know, it's one of them. I feel like if you can fish like this on another day, you could have a real session, especially if there was a bit of water on, perhaps. That's a good sign, roach. But that just proves my point about the bait. Like, you think you put a lot of bait in, but it is getting eaten. Them roach are down there. They are mullering bait today. They've not been able to feed enough hemp at all to keep them satisfied. They've just got through loads of hemp today. Bit of an inquiry. Float's just gone down to like a bit of a pimple. Slow. Not something you'd strike at necessarily, but it has gone down and held, which is a bit odd. And I've mentioned it a few times, but we haven't had a crate yet. Obviously, they love worms. It could just be a roach. Very odd. Oh, it's just gone down and held as a little dot. I'm going to give it a few seconds and I'm just going to strike into that, whatever that is. That was a weird bite, that was. Really slow. Bit like that one before. Feels a good fish though. I hope it's not a pike. feels big though. And the bite was just like that one before on that fish that we lost. Feels a big fish, whatever this is. In fact, it feels blooming massive. Just such a bizarre bite. Big fish though. What have I hooked here? I can't do anything with it. Gotta be a pike, can it? There's something that's heading for that tree. I don't want it to get in there. Stop. Oh. Don't know what that was. That was whatever that was massive. Hook clem's gone. Oh. That's disappointing. I wonder if that was a pike. Could have been, you know. Weird bite. Oh, that's annoying. That is annoying. I wonder if it was a pike. I want to put another bit more worm in. Get straight on it. It's just the fact that it was such a bizarre bite that I'm not quite convinced about. Frustrating, right? Let's just chop a bit of fresh worm up. Couldn't do anything with it. Big fish that, whatever it was. Right, I've just put the bait dropper back on. I'm just going to put in another little pinch of bait. Me and the cameraman have discussed it at length and we're both pretty convinced that that was a pike. Which is disappointing, but we'll never know, will we? It broke me, but it wasn't like a bite off. It was just a pretty clean break, to be honest. It was just heading towards this tree and I sort of put the brakes on a little bit and I don't know, it was an odd bite, which I just kind of feel like it was a pike. It's annoying. But for a moment I was like, oh my God, I've hooked something absolutely gigantic here. I mean, it could have been, to be fair, because there's some massive pike along here, but not what we want. So let's get some worms in. I'm just literally gonna go over it now. Because we might as well. Because like I say, it's the witching hour. Such a bizarre bite. Kind of tell with the old perch, like they much more. You kind of tell it's a perch bite, whereas that just never felt right the whole time. Just having a bit of an indication at the minute. Just seeing if it'll develop. It's a slow one again though. Just sort of pulled the float down and there's like a little bit showing. Interesting. What's going on here? Let some slack. See if anything develops. It's so interesting what we said when we first went on these big. Oh. That'd be worm. When we first went on this big fish line, we did mention about the old golden 5-minute rule, and it's kind of in my quest to try and catch this video-ending fish. I kind of proved my point a little bit because whenever we've gone on it, we've had a quickish response, and then you kind of just pass time and nothing really happens. Whereas if we'd have been smart or fishing in more match conditions, you know, coming off it and going back on them roach is so important. Like I say, you just, if there's a big fish in the area, you tend to know pretty quick, in my experience. And that's, you know, we caught that perch when we went back on it after feeding those balls and hooked those fish, whether they're pike or what, who knows, but they've both come pretty quickly after going out there. And actually, the longer we've sat here, although we have just missed a bite to be fair, but the longer we've sat here, it's not like we're getting loads of bites or anything. And I think that is often the case with those big fish, and it kind of reinforces the point I made earlier that I said 5 minutes, but it could easily be 10 minutes. But what I'm trying to say is don't just sit there for half an hour, especially if you're in a match. Go out, have a little look, and make sure you keep your other plates spinning, your roach and your other fish, because you can just sit here and before you know it, half an hour's gone. I mean, it is a gamble, fishing for big fish, of course it is. Sometimes it pays off, sometimes it doesn't, but I always like to give myself a chance of one. But it is about being disciplined, and that 5-minute rule, maybe stretches to 10 if you're feeling brave, is such a good one to sort of live by a little bit, because, yeah, no end of times I've caught my one big perch or bonus skimmer or whatever. And there we go. That was my last chance saloon, that was, and I've had a bite, and it's not the monster we wanted, but it is a bite. And interestingly, I put a full worm on, but I broke it in two this time. And it is a chunky perch to end on, not a monster. And I'm thinking, like, I just want to come back and try again, because I've had a great day's fishing. I really have, but I do feel like a slightly tweaked approach. I mean, that's a cracking fish, isn't it? A slightly tweaked approach, and we could have had a few more of those big bonus fish. I feel like perhaps, in hindsight, bait dropping would have been better than putting all that ground bait in that we put out. But to be fair, I was kind of hoping for maybe a skimmer or two, maybe even a bream or whatever, or even roach, to be fair. I didn't really know. And we sort of tweaked it as the day went on. So in hindsight, if I was to come again, I think I'd probably look to bait dropper the bait in, because that's definitely got us more bites, it seems like to me anyway. So yeah, so it's been a great session. I think what we should do is have a little look in that net, because we've had a brilliant day. Honestly, I've really thoroughly enjoyed it. And I am definitely going to come back in the next few days and have another go, because I feel like I haven't quite got it right there, but close. Okay, so there we go, another cracking day here on the river, and I'm loving it at the moment. I mean, look at this, that lovely perch we had, another one just a touch smaller, and then all these beautiful roach that we've caught on hemp and tares. I mean, how can you not love a bit of this kind of fishing here on the Great Ouse? It's amazing. And if you'd like to see more videos like this, don't forget to like and subscribe, and we'll see you again on the Nufish channel.